Hi, I'm Essie.
And I'm Elle.
Welcome back to Magic and Mayhem. Hello, welcome back.
Today we aren't doing it now. We have already read. We were reading each other's preferred genres, which was romance and horror. And we traded those. So
Bet you can't guess whose was whose.
So for mine, I am Elle. Mine was horror, and so I forced Essie to read horror.
Because she's me.
Yes. I think this idea was in fact mine.
Yeah, it was.
Mainly because I wanted to force you to read horror.
Yep, that was the whole reason.
And then you retaliated.
I did.
By forcing me to read romance.
In fairness, we did give each other a list of books to choose from.
Yes.
That we thought would be more in each other's wheelhouse than maybe some other ones.
Yes. And for the romance, it had to be romance. It couldn't be fantasy romance.
Right.
It had to be romance.
Just straight romance. Yeah. Or just
with
not straight though.
Not straight.
Romance
Plain
only.
Jane romance.
Yeah, just romance only as a genre. No fantasy elements, no sci-fi elements, no any other elements. Just romance.
Yours had no particular qualifier other than it needed to be horror. We enjoyed this form of torturing each other. It was made worth it by the fact that we knew the other person was suffering.
Yes, that was the only reason it was worth it.
And when we finished, we declared to each other that we were done with that genre for a while.
Yeah, we're not doing it anymore for a while. Not that either one are... Is romance your least favorite genre?
No, definitely not. My least favorite of all genres is nonfiction.
Oh, fair. Yeah.
I don't like nonfiction.
Technically, neither of these were like our least favorite genres, because horror's not my least favorite either. Thriller's my least favorite. But it still wasn't like one we really...
We don't gravitate or seek out romance or horror, respectively.
At least not often.
Yeah. However, it is each other's most common.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Or high on the list.
Well, technically, I think your highest is probably fantasy, but that wasn't enough out of my normal.
Yeah.
To make it really work for this video.
Oh yeah, fantasy it works for both of us, but yeah, that wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, that wouldn't work for the video. So
we were intentionally, we were intentionally forcing each other to read something uncommon.
Yeah, because we hate each other.
Yeah,
I guess
we hate each other.
Here, suffer
in our healthy health.
Exactly. Like I said, we gave each other a list of books that we were allowed to choose from. Did I deviate? Of course I did.
Oh yeah,
because I always deviate. Elle, of course, went off the list because of course she did. I will say that all the ones that I did end up picking were still highly rated by Elle, so it still counted. And I did ask her before I switched them. So, in fairness, when I did switch them, you literally ran and grabbed them and brought them.
I did.
Because she had the physical copies of the books. So she literally, the second I told her which ones I wanted to switch to, she ran with the books and brought them to me. It was very funny.
I did do that.
I was like, hello?
No sooner had you told me, but you were getting a knock on the door.
I was. I was like, what the? Who's here? Oh, okay.
You're like, what the hell? Did you teleport?
It kind of seemed like it.
Because the moment you said that, I went to my shelf, I picked those books up, and I came to give them to you.
Well, I wasn't even sure you had gotten my message yet, and then you disappeared, and I was like, what the? Okay.
That's like the Instagram one of you tell your best friend something, and it's like they break the door down, and they're like, ding dong.
Ding dong. Exactly. That's basically what it was. So I'm gonna guess that she was okay with those picks.
You weren't quite that zealous.
No, I was not. Well, and I wasn't gonna give you the physical copies because you don't read physically anyway.
I mean, sometimes. but I do greatly prefer digital.
Yeah. So I think I did offer, but I don't think you. Yes, but on that note, yes, you read role playing.
I read role playing and Imogen, obviously.
I read 2.5, so we'll list all three, but I technically only read 2.5. So I read Don't Let the Force In by C.G. Drews. I started Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Unfortunately, didn't have to due to triggers, and then I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Bury Your Gaze. There's nothing against Chuck's writing. The horror that can work for me is the kind where it's not real. That one had a little too much real humans being terrible for me in it, and so yeah, unfortunately, ended being
I mean,
but that's nothing against Chuck Tingle's writing.
To a degree, that is kind of the point
Yes.
of the book, really.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So I was a little concerned going in, and yeah, it was a little too much for my anxiety to be able to handle. But that was nothing against Chuck or his writing or anything. That was just a me problem. So, but I wanted to still be able to finish at least 2 books for the video, so which is why What Moves the Dead got added instead.
So I will start with role playing. I'll tell you my rating at the end.
Of course. She wouldn't tell me any of her thoughts as a side note.
I wouldn't.
I tell her because I tell her all of my thoughts, even when she doesn't want them.
Oh, well, it happens. But, so in this one, you basically have 2 gamers. They meet online, have no idea who each other are. They only know each other's handles. And I love Bogwitch. That's her handle. And or Boggy. She's like my favorite. And they're like middle-aged gamers, and they assume she always calls herself incredibly old. So he assumes she's his grandmother's age, and that is not in fact accurate. No. And she assumes he's like 18 or 19. So they have no clue that they're in fact like the same age roughly.
Yeah.
And and so when they do discover this, they are both extremely shocked. Because one was expecting an 18-year-old and the other was expecting his grandmother. And they kind of meet like in a weird circumstance, and they meet even in the server via other people, but they do end up meeting, and it's entertaining via how drastically different they are from what they thought they were. Oh, Aiden. I liked Aiden a lot too. Boggy is still my favorite of the 2. I'm sorry. However, I did like Aiden still. I do also like about the book that they're not super young. Most romances are always like, oh, they're like 22. You always get the range of 16 to like 22.
And then they fall in love forever.
Yes, apparently.
Like at like 18. No, you're not.
Yeah, no. So it was Bogwitch and Otter, and that's their handles. I love both of them. I liked the kind of it didn't go super bad, but I liked some of the more realistic exploration of games when you're, even if you say you're an old woman or whatever, how they behave in the game world. And it didn't go too bad, but I liked that it was at least moderately realistic. And my if you know, if you read this book, but my very favorite moment from the book was the hold my earrings moment. And I liked that moment very much because it's about exactly the reaction I would have also had.
Yes.
In that circumstance. Which, in case you get triggered by this, I will say that moment is tied to one of them being outed against their own will. And I absolutely would have behaved the same.
Rocky did remind me of you quite a bit.
In that light, since they were both so cute. And I found the romance pretty believable, I guess, for having met online. and the progression of it. Is it completely believable? I mean,
It's a book, so.
It's a book, but it was decently believable, and it wasn't like insta love, which I appreciate.
Mm.
And I liked the characters, and I liked the rep. It was subtle ish,
Yeah.
mostly subtle, but I liked it. And so my rating.
I knew you were gonna do a song.
I did give it 5 stars. I liked it.
Yay! Yeah, the goal was we were trying to get the other person to give it 5 stars. I didn't think that actually would get 5 stars. I was just hoping you'd at least like it.
I did like it, and like I said, it probably if the characters had been any different, it wouldn't have gotten 5 stars.
Mm.
But I liked the characters. They were quirky and fun, and
If nothing else, how can you not like Boggy?
you can't. There's
Exactly.
something wrong with you if you don't like Boggy.
Exactly. So.
And you are not to be trusted.
Okay, so the first one I read was Down with the Forest by C.G. Drews. So this is about two boys in high school. So they come back from summer. So mostly it follows from like Andrew's point of view. And so Andrew comes back from the summer and his best friend Thomas is acting weird. He doesn't want to talk about it. And normally, like Andrew writes these stories and then Thomas draws them. But then Thomas stops drawing. He doesn't want to draw them anymore. And so trying to figure out what's going on, Andrew follows Thomas into the forest and figures out that Thomas has been fighting these monsters in the forest this whole time. And so, because the drawings, they're coming to life and killing people. And so then they start, going out into the forest every night and fighting these monsters to try and keep them from killing people. So, also, Andrew's absolutely obsessed in love with Thomas. The amount of pining in this book.
Oh, it's high.
It's so high. So much pining. If you love pining, you will have a great time with this. There is so much pining.
Through the roof.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, please just have a conversation. I'm begging you. But it's high school, so we don't do that. But yes, obviously this is horror. So there's a lot of death. There's a lot. It is pretty graphic in description. It didn't bother me personally because again, this is more of a fantastical horror.
Drawings don't generally come to life.
Yeah, so it didn't bother me, and gore itself doesn't necessarily bother me, but it is pretty graphic, so do bear that in mind. I had a hunch about what was happening fairly early, but I wasn't sure I was right. And I still don't know because this is one of those books the ending doesn't really tell you. It's left ambiguous on purpose. You're not really supposed to know. You can just kind of, I guess, draw your own conclusion.
You can draw your own conclusion, make it worse or better, depending on what you want.
Yeah.
And you can also curse other people with your theories.
Yes. Someone's done that, and I'm like, no, you are wrong. I don't care. No, that's not what happened. So yes, and if you like to discuss books and ambiguous endings and stuff, this is actually a great one to do that with, and like all the little details throughout the book or whatever. I will say this isn't like a very happy tone book. It's not meant to be, but I binged it in 3 hours, so it is like compulsively readable, and just I had a great time reading it. Like I said, I did guess one of the things that was happening, but I didn't guess like everything, and that doesn't bother me either. So, I might get more enjoyment out of it if I guess it correctly.
There is a certain level of ha 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 if you're right.
Yeah, so that doesn't bother me, and I don't think it was obvious. I don't think it's like you're gonna pick up on it immediately or anything. I think it was very well done. Just like little crumbs that you can follow, or you don't have to.
I mean, if you're paying attention,
yeah,
you probably might get them.
And again, the ending doesn't have an ending, so you can't
like
guess that correctly.
The ending isn't there.
Yeah, so you can't guess that correctly because there is nothing to guess. But
I mean, there's plenty to guess.
But I really enjoyed this. I had a really good time. I was pleased with the direction where things went. There's some things I wasn't sure was going to happen. They did. I can't tell you what they were, but I was very pleased with the direction that it went. And the relationship between the two boys is toxic as hell. But it's also really cute. And
Their codependency
the codependency is so strong. Oh my gosh. But it's also like really cute and you still root for it even though you know this is not healthy. But you still want it to be a thing.
You're like, oh, sweetie.
You're just like, this is not. But you know what? It's fine. I did really enjoy the side characters as well. I thought that they were really well done, and like and how they were, you know, supportive, but also like realistic of like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, there was a lot of what the hell's going
Yeah,
on.
yep. Even the characters are like, what the hell is going on actually? So they weren't just like, oh yeah, we'll just accept whatever, even if they were trying to be supportive. Also really, really enjoyed the asexual rep in here. So Andrew is asexual. La, la, la. Trying to say it too many times in a row, my tongue can't do it. So Andrew is asexual, and there is some conversation in the book about it. I thought that was really well done, and I did end up giving it 5 stars.
Yay!
So would I reread it? I don't know. I don't know. Horror is one of those things I don't generally reread it, but I had a great time and I loved it. And even though I will forgive it the ambiguous ending because that way in my mind I can make it a happy ending,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people have not given it in their head. So
You are allowed to give an ambiguous ending, whatever you want.
exactly. So in my mind, it's a happy ending. But you choose your own adventure.
Okay, so then I read Imogen, obviously.
This is the only one I got even a partial update from you about.
So this is about a high school senior who's going to look at and or I think she already got in even before she went there. But she goes to her chosen college where one of her friends who's already there, Lily, she's already at this college, so she goes there to visit, to preview the college, and she stays with her friend Lily. Meets all Lily's friends. She basically, and this is a very heavily queer influenced friend group.
Hmm.
And so, as far as Imogen has been aware of, she has been the token straight forever and always, even though members of her family aren't, none of her friends really are straight. But when she arrives to the school, Lily has concocted a slight bit of a fib, a bit of a fairy tale um, about their lives living in this like small town. And in this narrative, she has painted Imogen as bi. And so Imogen then goes along with this, and shenanigans ensue. Because, as you expect, you can't necessarily make up things like that.
That tends to go poorly.
It's gonna blow up a bit. Also, Imogen begins to realize once she's away from certain influences in her life that perhaps she is not, in fact, the token straight that she assumes.
Mm-hmm.
So, therein more shenanigans ensue. And this book is very heavily kind of a coming into your own queerness, discovering. In this case, I'm pretty sure it's not exactly a secret. Discovering her not so straightness, especially she discovers her not so straightness once she meets Tessa. And Tessa's cute and sweet. Some of the things I was less thrilled about in this was actually that Lily kind of told lies about her friend, even though she knew her friend was coming to this. Like, I don't understand what she thought was going to happen.
Yeah, that's messy.
You just tell everyone that your friend, your BFF, is bi and that you two dated when you didn't.
Yeah.
And it's bound to be messy, and it's a weird. I don't really like that. I don't dislike Lily. I like Lily for the most part, but
Yeah.
I did find that rather not so great.
Yeah, it was a bad decision. I
Um,
guess she was panicked, but
yeah, I understand that, but you shouldn't put your friend, whether they're straight or not,
mm,
or you shouldn't just tell people that your friend is something that they're not,
yeah.
and or that you, because at this point she thought Imogen was straight.
Mm-hmm.
She had no idea Imogen was not, and so you're kind of, yeah, I didn't like that she did that to her, and then also kind of expected her, partially hoped she would keep up the lie
Mm-hmm.
for her. She did say that they could come clean. Yeah, she was definitely hoping for this lie to continue, that they had dated. And I do understand someone being under pressure, trying to fit in and whatever, but at the very least, you should just make someone up if you're gonna make them up. Don't use
Yeah,
your
don't
BFF.
use your best friend. That was a weird choice.
Like, don't, especially not your BFF, who's probably coming to this college as well,
Mm-hmm.
and who you would be trying to force into a lie.
Yeah.
You're just going to get the, like, as far as she was concerned, she was going to have her BFF live her entire college career as a fake. That's a weird thing to do to someone.
Yeah.
And I do not like her other BFF, whose name is Gretchen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Gretchen at all.
Mm-hmm.
She's an extremely manipulative character. Like, I understand that the book reveals some things that have happened to her, but she's an extremely toxic person.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that you probably get that way after certain things have happened in your life. However, I just could not quite sympathize with her when she's harming everyone around her at all
Right.
times. Not only Imogen, Imogen certainly gets a lot of it,
Yeah, the brunt of it. Yeah.
but pretty much she just spreads her toxicity around to literally everyone at all times.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that happened in the book, that deeply upset me was when they're talking about, I think this is a fake thing. I didn't look into it, but they're discussing, well, Gretchen is discussing this celebrity coming out as bi,
Mm.
and she's discussing with the other people who are not in agreement with her. She's trying to force them to agree with her as to this celebrity kind of being fake about it,
Mm-hmm.
and having that she should have done this and she should have done that and blah blah. I really did not appreciate
Yeah.
that level of entitlement to someone else's life.
Yeah.
And I know it's very prevalent, and it bothers me excessively
Mm-hmm.
that people such as Gretchen feel entitled to someone else's coming out.
Right.
And this plays out later because the both of the books you gave me,
I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
both of the books you gave me had a forced coming out.
I didn't realize. Hey, I wrote you a whole list though.
Yeah.
You picked the two that had outing in them.
You strongly wanted me to go for these, so I went for those. And both of them have someone outing the characters.
I didn't even think about it. I was just trying to think of what characters I thought you would like, because that's the easiest way to get a good rating for you is if you like the characters.
Yes, yes.
I did not think of that happening. It is in the content warnings though.
Yeah.
You don't.
I didn't read them though.
Yeah, you didn't read the content warnings, so sorry. I forgot that they both. I read them both a while ago, so I kind of forgot that they both had it in there.
I was like, is this a theme?
Apparently, I think you're gonna enjoy them.
Apparently.
No, not for that.
I don't think anyone likes that.
Yeah, no, not for that.
But yeah, so again, this book would also have that trigger and I feel like this one was slightly worse.
Yeah, that one's definitely worse. I
Than the first
remembered
one.
that one. I just forgot about it in role.
Yeah. This one is a bit worse than the forced reveal. Overall, it's still good.
Okay if you don't like it.
I think I would have liked it if Gretchen didn't exist.
Yeah, it would.
I know, but she made me incredibly angry.
Yeah, she's supposed to.
I know, but she made me
Too
very,
angry.
very angry.
Uh,
Enough that I didn't exactly like it. I
That's
like
fine.
the others. I didn't love Lily's choice to do
Yeah.
that. Like there were several things that I didn't like, that they kind of stole her autonomy with
Yeah.
and granted she gets it back.
Yeah.
I feel like you can understand she gets it back, and like it's a happy ending, all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because it's a romance. That's how it goes.
I consider it more coming of age than romance.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, coming of age romance.
Yeah.
Because she is 18.
Yeah.
Most of them are 18.
They're just kids.
And so, and I still, yeah, I cut them some slack because they are little babies.
Mm-hmm.
They are children, but I still was, I probably wouldn't have been quite as upset had certain things not influenced my opinion. And I had just, it was weird because right when I was reading this, something that I had like a year ago, when something similar was happening to someone that I vaguely knew, was kind of like the celebrity thing that happens in here.
Yeah.
And so the timing on that was weird. That
It is
someone was
weird.
like trying to pull me back into that and was reminding me how much I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
So the timing on that was bad for this specific book because I was pulled back into something that I actually had been part of like a long time ago. And so it reignited all of my anger.
Yeah.
So that was bad timing. And some of my opinion or lack of appreciation for the book,
Yeah, that makes sense.
has a great deal to do with while I was reading this, something IRL happened to deeply irk me. And so if I hadn't been reading the book at the time that this occurred, I probably would rate it a bit higher. I still would say I'd give it about a 4 or something.
Okay, it sounds better than
It's
I thought.
not 4 something, somewhere in there. But yes, it's not a 5 because I did find it deeply upsetting. I also don't like things that could happen in real life and or do happen in real, like,
and it did
to a point.
Yeah.
I don't appreciate the real life situations.
Yeah.
And so I do think I could have given it a 5. I could have.
It's okay. I already got 1 5. I'm
You
happy.
did get one.
Although it's ironic because I really thought it would be the other way around. You'd like Imogen more than role playing. I thought role playing might be too sweet for you.
I mean,
but
it was really sweet, but
it went the other
way. It was definitely very sweet.
Which is why I was a little unsure, but I was like, I mean, they do have problems though. So like, plus the gaming aspect, I was like, I'll throw in for the gaming aspect too because it was. Mm-hmm. But I really thought it'd go the other way, so that's very funny.
I mean, sometimes we do that to each other.
Yeah.
Like, actually, all
the time. You almost always do that to me.
Yeah.
Almost every time I'm like, you probably like this one better than that one, and no, it's flopped.
Yeah. We often do that.
Like, apparently I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Rude.
I mean, it's the same for me, though.
We're difficult to please, apparently.
We are. We're very difficult.
And then the other one that I actually finished is, of course, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. So this is about Alex Easton, who is a retired soldier. They receive word that their childhood friend is dying, and so they, rush to their friend's home to see if they can help with anything. This is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher. So which I don't know that I've read. I haven't read it recently for sure. I don't know if I probably did read it in high school, but I don't remember it. So I don't think you have to read
Nah, I
this.
don't think so.
I feel like if you're a Tiki Fisher, you know what I mean. It's the horror with some humor thrown in. Lesser so towards the end. There's definitely more humor in the beginning, but it is.
You mentioned liking the horse part.
I do love the horse. The horse was my favorite, because the way the horse is described, I'm like, I've had that horse. I've owned that horse. The amount of sass, yes, I had a great time with the horse. Who's
The
not
horse
a main,
is a very great character.
it is. It's not like a main character, but it's in it a decent amount.
Yeah, quite a bit.
So I love the horse. Anyway, Easton goes to the castle, and of course, childhood friend is there, and then her brother as well, and they're both kind of sick in slightly different ways. But Madeline is a lot worse off, and they're trying to figure out what's going on with the help of a mycologist, Miss Potter, who is my favorite character.
Same.
She's incredible. We love her. And then an American doctor, Denton. Denton. Aha, his name's Denton. Brain was like, I'll get it. It's fine. Who was there also? Who I think was a friend of the brother Roderick. And just a bunch of really weird ass stuff happens. I would say the first like half or so, it's not that weird. It's definitely creepy.
Yeah, you get a little uncanny valley stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not openly.
Yeah, but it's not like openly like scary or weird or anything. And then you hit the halfway part, and shit hits the fan, and everything's weird. And that's kind of when it starts getting less funny as well. But it's okay because you get weird stuff instead. Again, and this is an instance of horror that I can handle as far as it is. It's actually not even terribly gory. It is a little bit, but like not terribly. But if you don't like mushrooms, do not read it. Or plants or anything.
Plant horror.
Yeah, if you don't like plant horror, do not read it. Yeah, it's not overly gory or anything. It's mostly creepy. That's the main horror of it, is just it being very creepy and bizarre. And they're trying to figure out what's going on, why are people sick, what's happening, and then, you know, try and save the house because neither one of them are willing to leave the house. Because of course that was the immediate first option given, and they're like, no, we're not leaving. So, but this is pretty short, so I don't want to give away too much. But definitely it's the kind of horror I like. Definitely 5 stars. Actually liked it more than Don't Let the Forest In. But not surprising, Taking Fisher.
There is a certain like element that Taking Fisher can always manage, seemingly.
Yes.
With horror.
And does it just so well. I will read almost any horror that Taking Fisher puts out. I do say almost any because except for anything with triggers, I still won't do that. But aside from that, I will read any horror she puts out. I absolutely loved it. Would reread, which is uncommon. I don't reread horror a lot, but I would reread this one. I thought it was so good and just so like quick and easy to read, and yeah, I had a great time. That is how that went. You did better than I did. Yay!
I mean, it's not a bad turnout.
No,
not a bad turnout.
Frankly, I'm surprised you liked the romance as much as you did, because you really actively do not like romance most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it helped that it was queer.
Yeah, I wasn't giving you anything straight.
No, I
No.
generally don't like those.
I wanted a chance.
Granted, like role playing is like straight passing characters.
True. Yeah.
They are not, in fact. I think you still picked well as far as it goes for a romancy thing.
Hey. Yeah, I was concerned because I like horror mostly. Depending on what it is, obviously.
You're a horror girly.
Yeah, that's what we learned. I'm actually more of a horror girly than I thought.
Just not close together.
Yeah, just not close together, and just certain kinds of horror. Obviously, ones that I don't find triggering. It's mostly the triggering that's a problem. So, yeah, because I would have told you, and I probably have said in videos before that I'm not a horror person.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that's not true. It just depends on the horror.
It's a lie. You're a liar who lies.
I am a liar who lies. Again, every video, I'm a liar who lies. Still not a thriller person though, and I stand by that. There are some thrillers I like, but it is not common, and I generally don't like them because those are usually more humans being terrible.
Yes.
I actually got you to give a romance 5 stars.
You did.
Incredibly. What?
Incredible.
Apparently I have an accent. I don't know.
I don't even know what accent that was going for, but
oh no. Yeah, that's to say, we're not going to do this again for a while, if ever. We both need a break.
Very much so.
So she's going to go read some horror, and I'm going to go read some romance.
Yes. Doesn't have to be horror as long as there's murder.
That was how that went, and yes, obviously we picked books the other person had already, like, we picked books we had already read for the other person to read, because otherwise it wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, you can't really recommend.
You can't recommend books you haven't read. That doesn't go well. So
we were aware of these books before the other person read them. That was exactly why, because the goal was to get each other to give at least 1 5-star, if not 2. We were hoping for 2, but
I was hoping for 1. I don't know. I was hoping for 1.
I mean, to be honest, I was hoping for 1 as well, since you were always like, I hate horror.
I do hate certain kinds of horror, yes, but not
all. Not all. Although I'm still gonna try to get you to read some others, but maybe not right now.
Yeah. So we may revisit this video idea again later in the future, but after we've both had a nice long break. Anyway, that's how that went. Actually, much better than I anticipated. I thought it would go much worse.
Yes. Thanks for listening to Magic and Mayhem. All right, bye.